expressing yourself is a problem. And because we believe that, we have caused ourselves, whether we realize it or not, we are becoming into the image of our oppressor instead of that's what I love about Malcolm. He wanted us to realize where we came from. And Elijah Muhammad, prior to his infidelity issues, but Elijah Muhammad impressed upon Malcolm. Did you know that Malcolm X's daddy was originally a Christian and Baptist preacher, but he never joined Christianity? Because he never saw something in Christianity that made him want to join Christianity. Although I'm a Christian, so nothing's wrong with Christianity. But the problem with Christianity versus Islam is that Islam actually practices what they preach. Christians have a lot of theological essence and truth.
But even though Islam practiced what they preach, their leader just went back recently and said he was teaching incorrectly. So, to me, that goes back to being taught incorrectly and then trained to do things a certain way. You get what I'm saying? That's where we fall short as a whole, because they taught us something, we did it, it didn't work. When a white person tries something and it don't work, what they gonna do? They find another route, right? Or they gonna find another way. We tend to get stuck and we keep doing it. And we keep repeating.
And something you gotta know about Malcolm too. One reason they killed Malcolm because Malcolm actually revealed that the Nation of Islam were in cahoots with the Americans.
See what I'm saying? So that's the incorrect teaching.
Right, but see, this is the thing. I 100% agree. But this is the problem. The word intuition literally in the Greek means to be taught from within. So our people by nature, because we were oftentimes people that spent time outside and in nature, our vibrations were always synchronized with the perfect vibration of nature. However, when we became industrialized by coming to America, we now had to go to schools to be educated. Although the Latin word for education, which is educo, which means to induce or to draw from within, which basically goes back to intuition, that we have, religion is what you believe to be true. Spirituality is what you know to be true. And the deception comes in when we waiting on somebody outside of us to try to tell us something that we already intuitively know. And so the problem why these people are getting together trying to make these people die in time gives you something that you already have. But you don't know that you already got it. So you tell these people, give us justice. You got justice. Give us peace. You got peace. Peace is an internal thing. You can't get peace from the outside.
Who said that?
You know, I'm a very, biblical person because I grew up. But I love the fact that in this particular story in the Bible where the disciples were on the ship, they was in the midst of a storm. They sitting around here all scared and everything, but Jesus was asleep. Jesus was asleep on the boat, which means that he, Jehovah Shalom, which is the Lord our peace, he was at peace in the middle of the storm. See, in other words, he didn't need the storm to change for him to have peace. But the disciples woke him up because they needed him to make their circumstances change so they could have peace. But what Jesus was trying to show them is, I have seen stories. There's a guy named, he wrote a book called In Search for Meaning. I can't think of the guy's name right now because I'm kind of intoxicated. But
I understand. I'm with you in both ways.
Yeah.
Can I interject for a second? I just want to say something that I think this is very important. My people should suffer for lack of knowledge. So, like, there's dual-sided meanings or even triple-sided meaning in a lot of the things that Jesus taught. So, along with that parable about him being in peace in the middle of the storm, you just helped me understand a part that I didn't even take time to look at. He was at peace in the middle of that storm. But so check that out. That's the metaphysical meaning of it. So the physical and how you said we're in tune with nature. So we're made of the elements. We're 67% water. We breathe in the air, the oxygen. The bioelectromagnetic current, the electric current from my brain to my nerves to my arms to that's electricity. Our skin is dirt. From dirt. You came to dirt, your return. We're made of the elements. So once you get in tune with your spirit, man, with Gaia, the elements, like you said, you can manipulate the elements. So when that boat was rocking and the disciples were scared and Jesus came and he said, peace, be still, he manipulated the elements.
Yes, he did. But see, that's absolutely right. But see, this is the point.
I just want to point that out.
Yeah, exactly.
Back to the original.
So this was the point that I was trying to make. And I want to piggyback off of what he just said. Even though Jesus woke up and rebuked the storm and caused the storm to be at peace, which means while he was sleeping, in the midst of the storm, he had the power to stop the storm, but he chose to sleep through the storm. The reason why he stopped the storm is because the people who were supposed to be following him could not have peace in the storm. See, in other words, just because you have the power to change the external circumstances, you know why Jesus didn't do that? Because he was trying to tell them, if I get rid of this storm, but I don't get rid of the storm inside of you, when the next storm come up, you're going to keep going through this same problem because what you think is an external issue is not. Have y'all ever met people who no matter what happens in their life, they get a new job, they get the car they want, they get the relationship they want, they still always got a problem because the problem is not going to change because you get external alterations. The problem is in your heart. The whole purpose of spirituality is supposed to change the heart of an individual so that no matter what happens around you, you still have peace. You're still stable. You know, when we get married, there's a vow that people say when they get married, but for some odd reason, it's just words. We say for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, for rich or for poor, to death do us part. The whole point that we're trying to make is no matter what transitions happen in life, my love for you is as consistent as the person who created love, which is God. So I think it's Malachi 3:10 it says, I am the Lord, I change not. So being in the image and likeness of God is that no matter what happens in life, I am still the same. If you find me today, I'm still the same. See, you know what's so ironic? These people are marching today, but guess what happened? Once they get whatever they think they get, him prosecuted, fired, or whatever the problem is, there's going to be another issue tomorrow. Because the issue, like he said, is not in your culture, it's in your consciousness. And as soon as much as we keep trying to do in the courts what can only be done in consciousness, we're going to always have a problem. Because until you change the person, you can change their situation. You can take a person out of the hood and put them in the Beverly Hills somewhere in LA, right? And if they don't change their mindset, they're going to turn that same place into where they came from. T.I. just renovated that whole area down there where...
We're in the area, baby. We're over here. I'm sorry to cut you off.
So T.I. renovated an area. And I was watching him the other day in an interview, and he was talking about how he did all of that work and then put all those people in there, and then what took place was they started turning it back into, the way that it originally was, because
mindset.
Life
is fun of meditation to focus on your thoughts. Once your thoughts are focused in alignment, everything else is gonna fall into place.
Right, because the truth of the matter is, whether we aware of this or not, life is all consciousness. And what people don't realize, for instance, I believe that when Jesus was healing the sick, right? Catch this. When Jesus was healing the sick, let me go back to the example that we just brought up about the peace in the storm, right? Mm-hmm. Do you know why Jesus was able to speak to the elements and command them to be at peace, but the disciples couldn't speak to the elements and command them to be at peace? Because Jesus was already at peace, and what he did when he stepped in front of the circumstances is he just projected the consciousness that he already had. But because they didn't have peace on the inside, they couldn't have peace on the outside. So where he was, he had peace because the peace on the outside was a reflection of what was already going on inside of him. That's how come when people see, Jesus said two words. He said, "Peace, be still," right? But it's peace, comma, be still. Because actually, when you look at it in the original Greek, really?
Come on, somebody.
Actually, when you look at it in the original Greek, the word peace and the word be still are both the same Greek words. So a lot of theologians try to figure out why did he repeat himself. But what the truth was, he said peace to the storm, but he was saying be still to their spirit.
Oh, revelation.
You know what?
2020.
So the point that I'm trying to make is that the reason why Malcolm X was more successful than Martin was because Martin was trying to integrate watch this. Martin was trying to integrate on the outside what had not been first integrated on the inside. Literally, the Hebrew word for holiness is what we call kodesh, which literally means to become one. So holiness is not how you dress. It's not the crosses that you wear around your neck. It's not the way you look when you look all sanctified and whatever the case may be. Holiness literally means to become integrated. So when the Bible says, "Be ye holy, for I am holy," it literally means if I am integrated. You know what integrated means?
But and I don't mean to cut you off, but going back into Malcolm and Martin, I have a problem with their story. Because if you lead me and you show me the way, but you don't live by that way, behind closed doors, that's a problem.
We all fall short.
Exactly. So my point exactly. How can you teach me to be a certain way and you're still falling short? You see what I'm saying?
That's
It can
That's going to happen
it can be
regardless.
your coming out.
Until the day you die, you're gonna fall
But
short.
exactly. But my thing is this. Okay, so they were leading the people to being free or learning to open their minds, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how can you lead somebody to open your mind and being free and you're not free and open-minded?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So in the same hand, that's why when I go and when people bring up those facts and they say that
What you mean in that?
because and this and I'm getting deep on this because this is why what happened to them happened to them. You see what I'm saying? This is why death came upon them because they was teaching. God gave them to teach, but they also were supposed to correct themselves within the teaching, and they didn't do that. So there's punishment to that.
Malcolm did that.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to. I'm gonna have to like semi disagree because my thing is that Martin's issue
Malcolm
again.
gave his temple, right?
Right, hold on. Again, this is what I want to say. We just back to what I said about integration, right? The word hypocrisy or the hypocrite literally means to be an actor. That's what it means. But it means you ever seen the little tattoos people have with two different faces on it? That's literally what the word hypocrite means. It means to have two different faces.
Yeah.
So one time you this person, but then you this person over here.
Right.
The reason why Martin was not as effective as Malcolm was because of the fact that you projected one thing, but you have an adultery,
right.
your wife of it. But
so did Malcolm.
Bro, Malcolm did not.
Not Malcolm.
They got a whole movie with Malcolm's wife and
bro,
the
12
movie alone.
Everybody's right.
Not the movie. You need to watch the documentary.
You do for 12
Not the
years,
movie.
Malcolm.
Their wives. Let me say something. When
The
they let
movie
this
was
documentary, when
entertaining.
they let
That
the documentary out,
was
when
real.
the documentary came out with the wives, let me tell you something. When a woman comes up forth to tell you the truth about their husband, I don't give a damn how you feel it. They came up and told the truth, both of them, Malcolm's wife and Martin Luther King.
You get it
You
mixed
gotta
up.
look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, no, but hold on.
Their infidelity had nothing to do with the bigger picture.
But they also spoke on it was more than just that. It
No,
wasn't,
but
it
I'm
wasn't
saying-
about infidelity. It was about their other lives. They
But
didn't
listen.
live what they portrayed to us.
No.
What we were taught to live on wasn't who they really were, baby.
Yeah,
And that's the
yeah.
truth.
No, but
Think
you
about
get.
this. Think about this. I hear you. Everybody's right. The only thing that I say is the difference is when you started the conversation, you asked, what did you ask me?
I have no idea.
You asked about protesting. You
Right, the
said,
protest. How
how do you feel about that?
Yes.
And how I took that is, you're asking how I feel about it in comparison to something other than protesting. We don't even have to say what that is.
Right.
But I still feel the same way. I still feel it's about a body thing. And you kind of confirmed it. I don't want to get too high for everything. But you kind of confirmed it when you were talking about Malcolm's route. It's not, the question should not be which worked better, because that's what you all are arguing. It's which step is first. And you don't get up with your hand.
Mm-hmm. Hello, somebody.
So,
Oh, Jesus.
You better say that. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come
So
on.
I think that is very profound. I could defend all day these people's character, right? I could defend these people's character all day. But this is an issue I had a conversation with somebody recently because it's a certain preacher that I like, well, several preachers, because they kind of roll together. And my homeboy was like, but you know, they're racist, they this, they that. Why do you listen to them? I said, what does these people's personal issues got to do with the
It's the same
purity
thing
of
with Jesus.
of
Jesus
your-
wanted people to realize it's something, a mistake that a lot of Christians make. Don't worship me, the man. No,
Man, I'm about to
follow my
slap you,
message.
bro.
it's
It's
not
my
so
message.
it's not so true in connection with one another. And the reason it's not.
That's why I said it's some, not
Jesus
all.
was
but some.
willing and in agreement and
Mhm.
alignment with being the complete and perfect sacrifice of everything that it
Mhm.
took in order
Mm-hmm.
for you to get everything you need.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So they're not asking people to be Jesus. They're asking people to be like Jesus and be willing to try to be like Jesus. We're having a conversation about being blameless. Do we attempt to be blameless?
Yeah.
Or do we not?
Yeah, and I think that if you want to bring up the Jesus concept here, that's a whole theological concept in and of itself, because Christians primarily believe that Jesus was God incarnated in the flesh. So the whole premise of his coming here was the point to be blameless so that we wouldn't have to be. So the whole issue about the law was the fact that we could not keep it as human beings on the level of consciousness that we was on. And so then
You talking about the law of Moses?
yeah, so that was the whole purpose of them giving that. People think it's only 10 commandments, but technically it's 613.
Yeah, it's a lot more.
It's a lot more. So when Jesus came, he said, I come not to destroy, but I came to fulfill. So the whole premise of that was, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things have passed away, all things have become new. So that now the whole thing is we pray in Jesus' name. So the point of that is he no longer sees me as I am. He sees me in Christ. So that even when I mess up and fall, he did not. So that I see the whole part. He who knew no sin
He
became.
knows your heart and your
Exactly.
mind if you were trying to be in alignment.
If you're trying to be in
out of
alignment, right.
alignment because you're not trying to walk that way, that's completely different.
Yeah, that's a whole
than
different
if you
set
fall
of.
out and you're trying to get back on. And
Yeah.
that's the question, not the life they lived, but what was their consistent.
Man, you
That's
just, you
the
know
thing,
what,
the
that was
message.
so, did you
Come
hear
on,
what you
somebody.
said?
His way.
No, but did you hear what you just said?
Yeah, yeah.
That was so powerful because I try to convey that to people all the time. The difference between a sheep, did you tell me today you was up there looking at somebody kill pigs or something? At your country where you was
I
at?
don't see no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when you got a pig, right, and you got a sheep, I love animals, so I realize that different animals have different natures, right?
Yeah.
So cheats have a different nature than pigs. And the difference is this: when you take a sheep and it get in the mud, and you take a pig and you put it in the mud, pigs do what we call wallow.
The pigs at home.
They just wallow in the mud. And you can clean a pig up, but guess what? They can go back and wallow in mud. But you take a sheep and you put a sheep in the mud, then the sheep are gonna do what we call bad. They're gonna bad and bad until you clean them.
Yeah.
And once you get them clean, their natural tendency is not to go back and get in the mud.
Mm.
So then why Jesus compared people, he says, my sheep know my voice, but then he said, don't give that which is valuable to the swine. So he was saying that you need to be a sheep, not a pig. So
and the difference is the pursuit.
exactly. That's what you just said is what I'm trying. That's so powerful. That it ain't a fact that let's say if I'm not saying cussing is wrong. That ain't you taking one type of conversation. I'm just making a point. So if I said ass or something like that, right? And people say, "Oh man, you supposed to be this and you said ass." It's not the fact that I said ass. It's the fact that what was my attitude toward what I did. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What is my heart toward what I did?
Or did you just sit in it and expect
And just-
that this
you just
position of
walk-
power that you have, you okay to be able to do what you want and your mind not check you?
Exactly. Like let's say for example, if me and Patrick was together, right? If we was together in my relationship, I would have it'll be a grace-based relationship, which means I would extend grace for the fact that he's a human and he's gonna make mistakes. Now,
I need to know about it.
we'll give a context around it. So if I give him grace and in a relationship, that means that, say for example, if I don't like the fact that people not that clean, let's say for example, if something wrong, instead of going off the deep end and accusing it, I want to know what was your motive, your heart, your attitude toward what you did. It's not about what you do. It's about the intention behind what you do.
And that's one of the hardest things to find out, but in reality it's not, because
It's not.
simplified as good intention or bad intention.
Yeah,
But sometimes you just have to trace where that thing goes back to, and sometimes they may not know as much as they think they know.
absolutely. This is the difference between intent, right, and lifestyle. Jesus said you should know every tree by the fruit that it bears.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. I don't care how many times you come to the tree and you cut off the limbs and you cut off all the fruit. Wait long enough, it's going to show you what type of tree that it is, okay? So when we talk about intention, that means that's the root behind what produces what actually took place. That's what we mean by motive and intention. What was the motivation? Was you just mad this day or was you had an off day? So how do you determine that? The truth is consistent.
Yeah.
Which means that whatever a person repeatedly do. Now, I have a phrase which I firmly believe, and I feel the need to say this because I feel like it's going to resonate for some personal reason in your life. But how you do anything is how you do everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's a scripture in the book of James that really says a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways, not just in some, which means that if a person can't make up their mind about what clothes to wear, it's probably going to give you some indication of what was going on here. I hear people say, well, I didn't think they was that type of person. I didn't trust them. Did they? If I say I'm going to call you in 30 minutes, and you take 2 hours to call me, that may not seem like a big issue in the grand scheme of things, but that means that you say things that you don't follow through on.
Yeah.
Now I was watching this preacher I love one time, and she was talking about how birds determine who they gonna marry, and she talked about how the fact that when I think it was a jaybird rather, I can't remember the exact bird, but I love this story because she talks about how when she's courting a male and she wants to see if that male is right for her relationship, this is what she do. She'll go up and she'll get a branch the size of her children, and she'll fly high in the air, and she'll drop the branch out of her mouth. And if he can catch the branch, she knows that if anything should have, calm your nerves. If he can catch I just almost ran out. If he can catch that branch, she knows that if anything should ever happen to her children, like if they fall like nests, he'll be there to catch her. But then what she do is she go get another branch, the same weight as herself, and she flies up high and she drops it down, and she wants to see if you can catch this branch, and if anything should ever happen to me, you can catch it. Now see, in the human world, we like, bro, I'm not finna drop no branches, but what that symbolically represents is you need to do tests to this individual before you start giving them permanent responsibilities. When we have a job, when you give people probationary periods to see if they're going to be there long term, if you try to talk about relationships and love is the most important thing that you're going to ever do in your life. Why? Because these two shall become one. I had this phrase that I use all the time that I tell people. I don't personally believe in reincarnation, but if you do, it's fine. I think you probably got your ideas on that particular thing too. But I don't personally, subscribe to that. But if I did, I tell people all the time, if reincarnation was true, you should never fall in love with somebody that if you could come back, you would not want to come back as them. Because if these two are going to become one, if you hang around a person long enough, the way they talk, the way they act, the way they respond, y'all vibrations are going. It's like females when they hang out a lot of times, sooner or later they menstrual cycles start to synchronize together because we are vibrational beings, and eventually your vibrations will harmonize with each other. And that's why twins oftentimes talk the way they talk, and they start to finish each other's sentences. If we be with a person long enough and y'all love each other enough, your consciousness become one consciousness, and you'll be able to know what they're going to say before they say it. Telepathy is a factor of love, but not only just telepathy, y'all vibrations starts to come together.
Oh, you just helped me understand so much about why I'm able to reach certain people so much easier. I knew it was because we had a strong connection, but the love thing. Oh my, okay.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, whenever you meet an individual, it is important to look at. If you look at them and you see something in them that you don't want in you, then you might not want to be with that person, because eventually, whether you want it to or not, y'all gonna eventually start to synchronize with each other. No, so what we're doing today by marching. Now, that's my human perspective, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, if I go to the spiritual side or the bigger side, this is what I believe. I believe that the God who created the universe is more intelligent than we really think he is. I believe that we're floating on a planet in the middle of an outer space called the Milky Way galaxy. That's what they say now. There are 500 billion galaxies in the universe. Not million, billion. And in each one of them galaxies, there's over 500 billion stars. Our sun is 100 times larger than the Earth. But there are stars that are 100,000 times larger than the sunlight. It takes 93 million miles the sun is from the Earth. It takes 8 minutes for light to come from the sun to the Earth, traveling at 196,280 miles a second. So this is how often during the day do you think about ants?
About what?
Ants. You probably don't.
When I walk out to the
Right. How often do you think about butterflies and bumblebees and birds? Not often, right? Mm-hmm. But literally there's a scripture that says every hair on your head got a number. Mm-hmm. There are 8 billion people on this planet, and you can't even get a haircut without heaven adjusting its records to accommodate the new amount of hairs on your head. So literally when a bird falls out of the sky, heaven has a record of how many birds are left. So he is very conscious and aware of what's going on with every individual's life. There are thoughts you're going to think 5 years from now that you're not even consciously aware of, but he already knows the thoughts and the actions and the behaviors that you're going to do years down the line. He done already made provision before the problem showed up. The solution was already met. Long before he created, if you believe this narrative, long before he created Adam and Eve, he created the garden.
Bishop
Why?
will love him.
You hear me? Say what?
Bishop will love him.
They can go back and forth all day.
Long before he created Adam and Eve, he created Adam and Eve on the 6th day because he wanted us to live in the 7th day, which means he wanted to live in the rest. So then the 5 days that he created, the 5 days that he created the universe, he created everything so that by the time man got here, they wouldn't have to say, we can't breathe. I gave you enough oxygen for you to live. I'm hungry. I gave you enough food for you to live. So God is a good man. You know what make him a good man? You know what make God a good man? It's the fact that he anticipates what you need before you ask.
Mm-hmm.
So long before we had racial issues, long before, you know what the problem is? The problem is we are trying to accomplish something without going to the individual who has the knowledge and the answers to all our problems. That's why we keep repeating the same
But they want to
cycle.
blame him for the problems.
So
Well,
then,
that's because we don't want instruction.
That's what I'm about to
When
say.
we go to him, that's what he did.
now he quoted, can I touch you? I'm like, okay, glory to God. So he got this. So he's been quoting this scripture all day. He's been saying, "My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge." Right?
Mm-hmm.
See, everybody know that scripture, don't they? Everybody, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge.
They don't understand.
But they don't. But they don't. But they don't know the verse after that one. The verse after that one says this: "But because they have rejected knowledge, so have I rejected them."
Yes.
The reason why you lack it is not because he's not giving it, but because you don't want to know.
Take it.
You're rejecting it. So he says, because you reject knowledge, I reject you, which is quite interesting because that means that God says, if you don't want to know, then you don't want me because I am knowledge.
Right. And the truth.
That's what omniscience means. It means omniscience. It means all-knowing. So what my point is this. If he's all-knowing, that means he already knows.
Say that word again, please, for the camera.
You know what?
Please.
So he is omniscient. That means omniscience. It means all-knowing. So then if God is all-knowing, that means that he already has the solution to whatever's going on in the world. So because man, I was thinking about this the other day about Genesis 11 when it says that they tried to build a tower to get to heaven. But the reason why they did this is because they was trying to make a name for themselves. But Genesis chapter 12, he made Abraham. This is what he said, Abraham, I'm going to make your name great. So 11, they tried to make their own name great. Genesis 12, he says, if you do what I instruct you to do, I will make your name great. Why? Because what you trying to, now I know this is cliche and I know we used to say this back in the day and it's all old school, but it still makes sense today. Why are you trying to figure it out? He done already
Yeah, God
worked it out.
never wants anybody to figure anything out ever.
See, that's the problem with human beings. We
So
take
wait a minute.
Ever.
So, like, with my dreams and stuff like that, like, I don't.
He doesn't give that to you for you to figure out.
So this thing, but
Hey, y'all hold on 1 second. I gotta check in.
but that's what I did though, and that's I don't know any other way to go
Hey.
about it. Like for example,
Hey, hold on 1
oh,
second.
I'm sorry.
That she took the words right out of my mouth. I was just for that.
I don't know how to like take. I don't know how to perceive that because with some of the dream vision that I get, that's what I have to do because like in some of these dream visions, my spirit has instant understanding of what's going on. But with some things, I have no clue why I seen that. Why was this in my dream? Because some things are new. So if they're new, I have to figure them out. And so that's the thing about it. God leads me to it. He leads me to it to figure it out and
You just
understand
said
it.
I have to figure it out.
So I'm going to explain that to you in a second.
Okay. So
Somebody
just correct me, but let me just explain something to you before you, because I'm open to correction because I don't know. I'm trying to understand where you're coming
Can I
from.
have one more piece
So-
of cookie? You got the cookies?
Yeah, let's break it in half.
Huh?
So,
Oh, you want a piece of cookie?
yeah. Anyway, let me show y'all something. This is
I don't want you to take too much.
the
I think
vision
me and Patrick will be good friends.
Here you go.
that I had when I had my first major awakening. I seen 444. So it was just destruction. And so what happened, let me explain to you what happened in this dream. This vision. I was living in Dallas and at this time I was selling drugs, I was doing security, I was cutting hair. I had been through so much, I had
Hold on
just,
1 second. Is he done?
You done that?
I'm back on. You good?
Okay, go ahead.
I just succumbed to that dark side. I had become that person that people try to like make me out to this and that. I just so much pain and being broken, so I was like, fuck it. So anyway, I fell out with somebody that I met and that I really cared about, and we made amends that day. You know, I was like, my brother, don't worry about nothing material. I miss your spirit.
Can you
You
sit
come
down?
home.
Please.
Sit down.
Yeah. I don't like people standing over me.
And no, seriously, this is serious. And we made amends, and all of a sudden 444 popped up on the screen. I said, "What is that? Why did you text that? That's some kind of code or something like that?" I said, "I don't know why I said that." He was like, "No, bro, I didn't put that up there." So as we finished talking, I was on my little couch like this. I fell into this instant deep sleep. I instantly fell asleep.
Now all this is in the dream.
No, this is in real life.
So you're selling drugs in real life.
Yeah. So anyway, but I'm changed. I don't do that anymore at all. But anyway, we made amends, and after we got off the phone, I fell into this instant deep sleep, and I woke up in the dream realm, the astral realm, whatever, and I instantly started crying, like boo-hoo crying, and I heard this baby screaming out of the corner, like a baby's picture of a baby screaming at the top of his lungs, and I realized what that represented. That represented my spiritual birth. Birthing pains. I was feeling the birthing pains, bride with something like that. So anyway, and I blinked my eyes and I woke up in this right here. There was just destruction and chaos. So this is where my empathic abilities really kicked in. So I felt all of this pain and death and destruction in this vision. And just picture like you at a party and you hear a whole bunch of people talking, but you can't really make out. But it was like that, but with screams and pain. I was the only survivor. It was just a hand sticking up out of the dirt. And I was in the form of a child. And it said God had the power to have you in two places at once. He did. I was in spiritual form, floating, looking at all that's going on in the future in the form of a child. So there's this little line, and so that cloud is like a mushroom-like explosion. It's like there was no sky. I cannot describe it to you, but it's like there was no sky. I can't explain it to you. So I'm covered in like dirt and debris and stuff like that, and it's like I'm looking at myself in the form of a child. Like I kicked the rock, you know what I'm saying? I picked up the rock and I threw it. And I threw it so hard it brought the rest of the building crumbling down. So it caught my attention. You know, I'm not aware of exactly what's going on. And so the little boy, me, looks at me, dead in the eye. And I see this little line, the thing that separates the movie theaters. And on the left, there's this little black ball with horns, legs, arms, and eyes. And I had seen that thing before, like in a minotaur form. It used to mess with me when I was a child. And it had red eyes. This time it had yellow eyes when I struck fear into it. And there was this black vortex, like this black portal coming from the ground next to it. So on the right side, there was this, what I would describe as an angel. She didn't have a halo that was depicted, but there was this light, this aura radiating from her. And she held out her hand. I couldn't see her face. So little boy version of me looking at me the whole time is walking towards her, and she holds out her hand. And so that thing that what it looks like the sun, that picture, that's not the sun, that's just this light. So we walk up into this light, and as soon as we walk up into this light, it's like someone took a film and said, clear. I said, I woke up just like that. Boo-hoo, slobbing out the mouth in pain, crying. I cried for at least 35 to 45 minutes. I even tried to stop. I couldn't stop. So next thing you know, I'm laughing and crying at the same time, and I'm just laughing. And it's like all that pain I felt just instantly went away, but I still felt the residual. But, so, now, the weird thing about that vision, the angel whose hand that I grabbed, her hair looked like Blossom from the Powerpuff Girls. She even had the bow. So, that baffled me. I was confused for at least 6 months on that. I'm searching for answers, you know. I'm asking God, like, you know, God, why did, you know, my angel, the angel looked like Blossom from the Powerpuff Girls, and I guess I'm starting to get what you're saying. I didn't have to figure it out. I had to wait until He revealed it to me.
Oh yeah.
So when He revealed it to me, I was two things, completely different worlds. One world of metaphysical science, the other world of cartoons and things like that. I just so happened to be watching Powerpuff Girls one day. They have a new sister. Her name is Bliss. She's black. She's older. She was.
You watched Powerpuff Girls before you had this encounter?
No, I watched it after. The funny thing about it is all the abilities that she has is what's described as His elect will have in the book of Revelation.
No, I was trying to figure something out. So how would you know that the angel's hair was like Powerpuff Girls? You had not watched Powerpuff Girls before the dream.
Oh no, I knew what Powerpuff Girls was before that. I'm talking about the thing that gave me revelation.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out. So you watched Powerpuff Girls before you had this dream.
I knew about it. I knew what it was.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so
look. Okay.
So her name was Bliss. Keep in mind her name was Bliss. She was black. She was made first. And the thing about it is, she was perfect, but she was too powerful. So she went off into the wilderness. She had been in the wilderness. She came back to kind of complete the set and help the Powerpuff Girls defeat one of their monsters or whatever like that. So, and I'll explain to you how some of us are actually mutating or transforming from our DNA. Bliss. So, like in X-Men and stuff like that, a lot of times the way they get their abilities unlocked is through traumatic situations that cause adrenaline and blah, 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 and this like that.
Mm-hmm.
No, we have latent abilities, like Christ said, this generation will do the things that he did and greater. So, one way that you can unlock these latent abilities in our DNA is through bliss. Blissful situations, being around positive, high vibrations of love and euphoric situations. That's one way to unlock these latent abilities in our DNA is through bliss and love, euphoria.
So let me ask you a question. Why do you? Okay, you just talked about two different situations. You talked about on X-Men, they unlock their abilities through trauma,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and you said the other way you can unlock it is
No, that's not the actual way. The way to unlock these latent abilities, the one way to unlock them is through bliss.
that's what I'm trying to say. One way is to unlock them through bliss, and another way is to unlock through trauma.
Yeah.
No, I was just giving an example.
No, I'm asking these questions. I'm going to tell you something.
No, okay, listen to me again. I noticed that one way they unlock these powers, these metaphysics, whatever you want to call it, is through stressful, traumatic situations that cause trauma, whatever. But no, what I've discovered from that is the way to unlock these latent abilities in our DNA is through love and bliss.
So my question is, can you? Okay, let me approach the question a different way. Can you unlock it through trauma too? Can the abilities be unlocked if a person has a traumatic?
No, so trauma. Now this is just coming. From what I've been through, I've noticed that when I am scared or something like that, or I get some news that makes my heart jump, things will happen. Like lights will flicker or something like that, or something be around me in the move. This has been witnessed by other people. So I noticed that is a way to kind of, I guess, boost them or like.
Okay, I'm gonna explain this to you. Okay, if I may,
But let me finish this also. Let me explain to you this also. So the way that we also are mutating. So the sun has been like weird activity ever since 2012, 16, something like that. These major solar flares like that. So these solar flares, which are light and energy, are carrying code. Light is carried on code. Light carries code, like a binary code, blah, blah, blah. So crystals are receivers and transmitters of code. We have crystals in our a reservoir of crystals and water in our pineal gland. So these crystals are picking up these light codes. These crystals in our pineal gland are picking up these light codes from these solar flares from the sun, and it's changing the code of our DNA. Our DNA is the code of our genetic makeup. It makes up what we look like. So light is changing the code of our DNA, and sound changes the shape of your DNA. That's why Kendrick Lamar, Please Don't Kill My Vibe. That's why it's important to stay around high vibrations, watch what music you listen to, be around people who speak positive things of love and affirmation and things like that. Because those of us who are susceptible to these changes, you want to change in a positive way, not in a negative way. So not also are we mutating, but the earth herself is changing and mutating. They have found reservoirs of crystals, some that are bigger than skyscrapers, that are also receiving these signals, these light signals, because the sun is our life source. The earth is our life source.
Because we technically, because we inhabit the earth, we've picked up. No, well, yes, because we inhabit the earth, we take on the DNA of the earth. But light tries to change you because it wants you to become light again. The DNA is what separates us.
Light and energy. Energy cannot be destroyed or created. It can only be transmuted into another form of energy. We are a light form. We have a light form. When we reach that light form, we are eternal. We are immortal.
Can I say something?
Yes.
You're smart.
I've seen my light form. I've met my light form. He's gold. This gold orange being that just radiates beautiful golden orange light. That's why when we were made in His image, we were made in light form. God is the light, the masculine. That's why I refer to God as the Father, because God is the light of our order, our chaos, the feminine.
I just want to say he is smart. Like, you don't hear people quoting laws of thermodynamics like that. Like, I mean, you know physics and quantum.
I remember when the young man came to me and told me he ain't believe no more. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I don't think I
Yes, you did when you was
I've never stopped
I ain't gonna say
believing
believe.
God.
I ain't gonna say believe.
I've never stopped
But
believing God.
you were questioning your beliefs. That's what
Yes, I was.
so that and that thing caught me off guard. I was like, oh Lord,
So
I went crazy.
to go back.
And I'm like, on my spiritual journey, I almost lost my mind 3 times, but that was necessary to get back on track because I had to question something. I had to develop my own relationship with God for Him to start revealing things in me that I needed to know to put me on the right path.
But see, this is what I wanted to go back to about the trauma and the bliss thing. So I'm going to explain something. You said through bliss, let's just take you said through bliss, we do what?
Love transforms.
You said love transform, but the phrase you used was it unlocks. What's the implication in the word unlock?
To unlock. To open.
Okay, the implication in the word
Something's
unlock,
already
it's
there.
it's already
It's
there.
already there.
So the reason why, okay, when a person has a traumatic, I'm gonna see if I can explain this. When a person has a traumatic situation, like a person close to them dies, or they have, like, for instance, in my particular case, I was born with certain set of issues that have caused me as a child to have to always spend all my days at the hospital. So because of that, I didn't have like a normal type of childhood, so you're forced to deal with your mortality before other people do. So what the problem with that is, I sat around like Siddhartha Gautama did, who we call the Buddha, and all he did was contemplate what's the meaning of life, what is all this about, why do we do this? Now, if you don't have no problems, you tend to have to get to be like 60 or 70, or maybe some people 50, before they actually start to think about stuff like that. Because young people, they think young is forever. They think youth is forever. It's like, I'm finna be rich, I'm finna be famous, I'm finna be this. But what happens is, that's an illusion, and what shocks you out of, now, here's very careful. Jesus said you cannot serve 2 masters. You cannot serve God and what he called mammon, which was actually the god of money. But the reason why he said this, because if you spend your life, have you noticed that, I think it's Matthew 6, have you noticed that Jesus said, do not seek after things, but he said seek the kingdom, and then all these other things will be
set up your riches in the kingdom.
Absolutely.
Added
That's why you
unto
don't
you.
have to figure anything out.
Exactly, all these other things going to be added unto you. But he said something in the kitchen that I want to go back to. He said, you can't enter the kingdom unless you become what?
Like a child.
Like a child. Now, why do you have to become like a child? Because children don't have to figure nothing out. Children live by faith. So living by faith is, if you say go left, I'm going to go left. Now people say, well, I'm a grown man. I don't particularly believe in that. Yes, you do, because when you listen to your GPS, you don't question that woman.
Man, what? Yes.
Shit, I do.
Hey, I thought you were trying to set me up.
Okay, that's the problem right there.
We're on the same page.
Yeah, so I want to go back to the trauma thing. Now, the reason why bliss, that's the complete opposite side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
But the reason why bliss is because when you really, let's say, for example, you on a, because I don't like roller coasters, but let's say you're on a roller coaster and you screaming, or Will Smith just jumped out of a plane recently, and he said that when you jump out, you terrified, but there's a moment where you're just having complete bliss, where literally your mind just stops, and in that moment time stands still. He said he realized that God put all the other things in life, the best things in life, on the other side of fear. Now, this is really what's taking place. I don't know if you know a guy by the name of Eckhart Tolle. He wrote a book called The Power of Now.
I've heard of it.
But Oprah introduced me at one point when I was looking at her stuff to Eckhart Tolle. But this is his concept. Whether it's trauma or whether it's extreme levels of bliss, both of these encounters accelerate the brain frequency so fast that it causes you to do this. Stop thinking. And in the moment that your mind, see, you're a spirit, soul, and body.
Yeah.
Your soul is your mind, your will, and your emotions. And constantly, most human beings, like, even if you're a quote-unquote quiet person, most people's internal dialogue is doing this all day, every day. They be sitting there quietly, but their mind is doing this right here. Most physical diseases are caused by stress. What is stress? The thoughts in your mind that produce the chemicals in your body, the feelings in your body that produce the chemicals that release. For instance, I don't like roller coasters, but if you like roller coasters?
No.
Okay, you can't use you. You like roller coasters? Mm-hmm. Okay, so she like roller coasters. So I don't like roller coasters, but if she and I both got on the roller coaster, we both in the same experience, right? Mm-hmm. But because I don't like roller coasters, my brain is going to release cortisol, adrenaline. It's going to release all the chemicals of stress that's going to eventually tell my body fight or flight. So it's going to cause my body to go into defense mode. Mm-hmm. Your body, because you like roller coasters, i.e. love, is going to produce oxytocin, vasopressin, serotonin, dopamine, all that good feeling stuff, right? We having the same experience, but because our interpretation of the experience is different,
Absolutely.
now we're going to have a different internal experience.
Yeah.
You brilliant. Let me ask you a question. Have you heard of epigenetics?
Somewhat. I'm not too familiar with it.
So back in the day,
Yeah.
science used to say that heredity is what caused people to be sick. If your parents got a problem, genetically they're gonna pass that problem to you. You're predisposed. But they did experiments where they would take children who were not like from a family that had any previous genetic disorders like cancer, and they would take them to families that did have a predisposition to cancer, and the child would get cancer. They would then take a child who had a predisposition to get cancer because they heredity and take them into a family through adoption that does not have it, and that child would not get cancer. So what they started learning is that environment is more important than heredity. Dr. Bruce Lipton wrote a book called The Biology of Belief. He was a cellular biologist, and what he did was he would take petri dish and he would put what we call a culture medium, which your blood is a culture medium, it's just whatever your cells are in. And what he would do is he would take skin cells, he would take bone cells, he would take
So I'm sorry, real quick, after this, I want to tell you about the Rice experiment because it correlates with what you're talking about. Go ahead.
You talking about Dr. Mazzaro's with the speech? Okay.
Because I took it a step further. I did it with thought waves. Not
Okay.
just vibrations. But
So, what was I talking about? Okay, so Dr. Bruce Lipton did this experiment where basically he took a cancer cell and he put it around healthy cells and watch what happened with the cancer cell. It instantly became healed because it got into the environment of other cells that were healed. He then took a healthy cell and put it in an environment, in the environment of sick cells, and the cell automatically became sick. This is the quantum version of birds of a feather flock together, right? This is the quantum version of if 5 of your friends are broke, you're going to be number 6. Or if 5 of your friends talking about quantum physics, you're going to be talking about it soon enough. You understand what I'm saying? So even if you come in the room, you're like, this is so boring, this is so stupid, I don't know. Just stay in there long enough, you're going to start to get interested in it. But the point I'm trying to make about the bliss thing and about unlocking your abilities is that whenever God created, okay, I'll say that. All right. So take, for example, a mama bird. Whenever she she feels like intuitively it's time for that bird to get the hell out and go somewhere else, what she'll do is something called stirring the nest. And what stirring the nest is she'll start to go get sticks, and she will put them in such a way inside of the nest that every time the bird come back home, every time it try to get comfortable, it can't get comfortable. And so what the mom is telling me is that I'm going to make you so uncomfortable until you leave because you've been in this place too long.
Yeah.
But this is the fascinating part. What she does is if you still don't leave after she done made you uncomfortable, is she will push you out of the nest. Now see, naturally speaking, that may seem like, why would you do that? Because the bird could die if you push it out the nest. But for some reason, the mama bird knows intuitively something about the baby bird that the baby bird yet ain't found out.
Absolutely.
What I know about you, I know that there's something on the inside of you that's not going to be unlocked until you need it.
And that brings it back. That's the top and the thickest layer to it all. But to answer your original question, which he just answered, and to hit it a different way, God doesn't want you to have to figure out the information in your head, the piece of information that's in your head, because if you figure it out too soon, you'll think you don't need them.
Absolutely. Oh, that's powerful. Oh my God, that's powerful. Now, what I want to tell you about dreams is that there's different types of dreams. Like that's one of the things you have to understand is when you're trying to interpret a dream, dreams and visions are kind of different.
Dreams, visions, lucid dreaming. I've come to understand.
Well, this is the thing. You have dreams, you have visions, then you can have something called a night vision, and then you can have a vision inside of a dream.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have a dream, and you could be in a. I mean, when it comes to that stuff, it's kind of like complicated a little bit. But this is the thing. It's only complicated because you try to understand it with your mind instead of understanding it with your spirit. Your spirit, okay, in the beginning, God, which means there was nothing other than God. So then all things must be.
Mention that, and I'm as you didn't finish, but in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word
was God.
Yeah.
But pause right there. Stop right there. You said and say those over again.
In the beginning was the Word. The Word
was with God, and the Word was God.
The Word was God. The Word is God.
And then what happened right after that?
In the beginning was the Word.
Yeah.
The Word was with God. I mean, the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
You know.
Oh, he created. He created vibration. When he spoke.
So well, them two different.
He created. Who did he create?
Well, them two different scriptures.
Well, no. This following, it's all linking as far as timeline wise.
Okay.
In the beginning was the Word, and then the next thing you know, he had ended up creating. And from that, the living examples were Adam and Eve. So when we talk about that, and then we talk about all else that we've talked about, what's the DNA, to use something that we spoke about? What's the DNA of information? How has it been used? What is it? Where can you trace it back to?
God.
Okay, no. Yes, but it gets traced back to the first use of information and discovery of information was Adam and Eve in the garden. And the DNA of it was, that's the first thing the enemy tried to use against God's plan.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah. Because like I couldn't understand that on a whole different level too. Like atoms are the makeup of all of mankind.
Yeah.
Eve is the important mark in civilization. And things of Adam and Eve of that too. I realized that too. And the so like back to like the words and everything. I'm trying to come back to where I was because
In the beginning.
You was talking about in the beginning, what's the word?
the word, the vibration, and everything like that. And that was going back to like the Rice experiment because of how what you were pointing out.
Are y'all familiar with Dr. Mazzaro's work?
So the Rice experiment, right? How they say you speak things to existence.
Yeah.
How your I was talking earlier how sound changes the shape of your DNA. How you want to speak positive things. So the Rice experiment, right? It's a popular experiment where you take the same size containers, get the same amount of water, same amount of rice. For 30 days, you speak positive things to one container. I love you, you're beautiful, blah, blah, blah. So another one, you speak negative things. I hate you, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. So over time, the ones that you speak negative things to, the water will begin to like grow back mold or fungus or something like that. The one that you speak positive things to, the water stayed clear and blah, blah, blah. So I did it with thought waves because I had started picking up on telepathy and started noticing certain things with that. So to one jar, I thought negative things to for 30 days. To one, I thought positive things to. So I noticed that the jar that I thought positive things to, the water was even prettier and clearer than the one that I spoke negative things to. The one that I thought negative things to, the water was even dirtier and had more mold in it than I spoke negative things to.
Mm-hmm.
Letting me know that my thoughts.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
What is a word?
Vibration.
Yes, words are vibration,
Sound.
but they are sounds. But what is a word? You want to know what a word is? A word is a verbalized thought.
Thoughts, conscious.
So my point is, if a word can change something, then a thought, which is a verbalized word, can
your
change
thoughts
it
create
too.
your reality. Your thoughts are even stronger than the words that you speak. The vibration that you speak from the word.
But you're smart. You really are. Like, you're brilliant.
That's why
Now-
I'm saying through meditation and focus, once you allow your thoughts, everything else.
The
will
thing I was
follow.
about to say about these dreams is that two things we need to understand. Number one, every dream we have ain't necessarily got meaning to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes I think that.
dreams, or
See,
we just,
I have been studying spirituality and
Desires.
supernatural things since I was a child. And one of the things I have, when I say study, I'm talking about if it got something to do with the Kabbalah, the Zohar, the Kundalini, Theosophy, divination, sorcery, witchcraft, all of that. Anything
I pray for
chakras,
you too.
huh?
I pray for you too.
Okay, thank you. So all of, if it has anything to do with anything supernatural, I've actually studied it, right? And one of the things that I have found out is that what causes some people to go crazy, like you start to see these people, I personally believe the only difference between prophets, psychics, spiritual people, and the people that are in the insane asylum is that they didn't know how to come back.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That's the only
And you
thing.
know what I pray for? I pray for wisdom.
Because let me
So
show you
I'm
something.
waiting. I pray for wisdom and discernment,
I'm going to show you something.
and I got what I prayed.
When you get to a certain, okay, most people have dreams because God can't get across to them when they're awake. So the only time that they are still enough for him to get across to them is when they sleep.
Guilty.
And then the problem with that is that the reason why he don't necessarily like to go that route is because dreams come out of your subconscious mind, which is why I asked him, had he already seen the Powerpuff Girls? Because what's happening now is that you're a spirit, you're a soul, and you're a spirit, you have a soul, and you have a body, or you live inside of a body. But this is the problem. And when I teach people how to hear from God and stuff like that, this is what I have to tell them. God speaks to you in your spirit. That's called revelation. It then has to pass from your spirit through your soul, which is called information. before it comes out of your mouth, which is called
So
communication.
let me answer that too, because and it goes back to the knowledge thing too. A lot of people don't know the way to hear the voice of God is through your solar plexus, and so to hear the voice of God clearly, that's the point of fasting to honor your solar plexus. And I know when I fast, the clarity is the clarity. I
Absolutely.
literally hear the voice
But do you know why you hear God more when you
because I'm adhering to my temple.
No, I'm sorry. When I laid my hands on you, I just thought about something. But do you know why you
You are
hear
what
God?
you eat.
Do you know why you hear God more when you stop eating? Because do you know? Okay, it takes energy to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that
That's why when you eat,
the two things that your body use the most energy for, believe it or not, is eating and sex.
your sexual energy too.
Right.
So they correlate.
Isn't it interesting that God told Adam and Eve, be fruitful and multiply, subdue, have dominion over, and then the whole temptation was about them eating? Because the two things that we do the most is eating. You know why? Because eating and sex are what we call our survival instincts. It is the thing that we do to stay alive. That's why when people are stressed, the one thing they want to do the most is have sex and eat.
And it's also our two most physical pleasures.
Side note, this is not it's on subject, but it's not on subject, but I just thought about it. Do you know why when you get high, you get horny and hungry? And I'm going to say this, when I say this, I know you probably never thought about this. But the reason why you get hungry and horny is because when you get high to a certain degree, your body goes into self-defense mode because what it thinks is happening is you're about to die. Because what's happening is when you get high, your sensation is that your spirit is ascending outside of your physical
Let's stop
body.
right there. Let's go get something to eat.
So when you eat, what it's doing is bringing you back into your high down or bringing you back down into your high.
Y'all need anything?
Man, I think I'm good on the
Where
chicken.
y'all going?
I don't know. I really don't know what else around besides churches.
Okay, you got churches right here. You got Popeyes across the street. You got Checkers right here. You got Papa John's right there. If you go up this street up here, you got Captain D's.
And you got Kroger.
Oh, you got Kroger.
We're not too far from Miss D's, right, Lazarus?
Oh, Wendy's is this way
Miss
too.
D's Cafe?
If you go to the
Yes, to the left.
Who's Miss D?
Wow, she got a nice little restaurant up the street. Catfish.
wait a
Y'all
minute.
looking for that?
You got tissues right there. I'm not gonna say it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Like, and the thing that I'm explaining, because what I'm explaining to people now is people have been telling me, like, get out of chakras, they're demonic. Like, you're gonna go to hell, get out of chakras. But what y'all don't understand is good and evil in everything. It's good and evil in chakras, it's good and evil in Christianity. That's the point of the spirit of discernment and praying for wisdom so you can understand it. And I said, if you truly understood, then you would know the 7 chakras are basically the 7 virtues.
Are you
Like in Naruto.
good
They
with
use
your parents?
chakra to clean the surfaces and walk on
Your
water.
parents good? Relational?
My mama is a very good person. She's a very kind-hearted individual. She's a little fucked up and manipulative, but we all have our ways. But my mama, for the most part, my mama she's too nice. That's why I'm a little mean and a little snappy because I had to balance her out. She was too nice, so I was kind of been a defender. Like, no, you can't come up here. Who the fuck? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, my father, honestly, my parents are the perfect mix. My mama is the prom queen, the pretty girl, blonde. My dad was too smart. He was so smart, he went crazy, paranoid schizophrenic. And so he's out there. And I remember having a conversation when I was 10 years old. I understood what he was talking about, but I didn't have understanding. Now I have understanding of the things that he was talking about. But the thing with my dad, he's one that he's too out there. God gave me the perfect mix to where I got that blonde and I got that genius. So I'm balanced.
Did you just talk about Naruto?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're like perfect. When I came over here, right? Like there was this guy that was staying, that was here actually, and he liked Naruto and stuff, but nobody,
God has given me the gift of tongue. I'm able to understand everybody's language.
So what made you get into Naruto? Did you
I
watch?
told you I'm a fucking geek.
So you like Naruto?
Yes.
So you watched
I'm
all the
killing me
episodes.
all motherfucking day.
So
My
you
brother's
watched
been
all
fighting.
the episodes.
Yes.
So
I've seen all of Naruto, all of Shippuden. I haven't seen.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you some questions to see if you really know. So what? I'm trying to think of the Hokage. So the third Hokage's
Just how you
students.
understand chakra is how Jesus walked on water.
So the third Hokage's students, what are they named? Like what are they known as?
Shimaru,
Okay.
Tsunade,
Okay.
and Pervy Sage.
Wait, what's his real name?
Jiraiya. Yeah.
Jiraiya. Okay, so what are they known as?
The three Sundays.
Oh, you okay? So what? Okay, Orochimaru.
Orochimaru and Percy.
Orochimaru's famous jutsu, the forbidden jutsu he uses most of the time.
Animation.
So you seen the okay? What is the first level of when you go into the
Jonin.
ninja camp? What's the second one?
Jonin.
Okay, the first one is what?
Jonin.
That's not the first one. The first one is Genin, right?
Getting Jonin and Shonin. I don't know that one exactly.
Okay. So Jonins are the highest.
Okay.
So, okay. How many foxes? How many tailed beasts are there? What is the thing in Sasuke and Kakashi Sensei's eyes called?
Sharingan.
What is the other eyes? Like the other people who got
Rinnegan.
the who?
Rinnegan.
The Rinnegan. What is okay? And Sasuke's brother. What is the name of the technique he uses with his Sharingan?
Mangekyo Sharingan.
Oh my God, you really do know Naruto. That is crazy. So, which Hokage is Naruto's dad?
The fourth.
What is Naruto's? What technique did Jiraiya teach Naruto?
Rasengan.
And what did Naruto call it when he remixed it? Or changed it and made it his own? He was working with Captain Yamato.
It's always been Rasengan, right?
Yeah, but he had the
You don't mix it into several different versions. You had the orbitary Rasengan, the planetary Rasengan, the one that fucks you up from the inside. I forgot.
That's what I'm talking about. When he killed the what's the name of the people with the clouds on the Koski. And you remember when he was fighting the one with the puppets?
Mm-hmm. But the puppets built to his
Wait a minute. I'm wrong about that.
No, he had puppets, but they had the face mask, and each puppet had a different element. The kind that he had.
Right, he had hearts in them.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, so he
And so he did that. I seen that fucked him up from the inside out. I forgot what it was called. I just called it like
shot him the shuriken.
Shuriken Rasengan.
Yeah.
Yeah. By Shuriken or something like that.
Have you seen Full Metal Alchemist?
Mm-hmm.
Brotherhood and
Mm-hmm. That's why I understand the
You know, when I look at
spiritual relevance behind all
when
of
I
it.
look
Check this out. In Dragon Ball, right? So
what the hell? You really don't watch it. What
each chapter,
anime have you not seen?
Each I gotta catch up on One Piece, and I've seen Bleach. I've seen.
You seen all the Bleach?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
And
God.
that's what we are too with Shinigami. I even had a dream about me chopping the false prophet's head off with a scythe. But I'm gonna tell you about that dream.
So okay, I'm finna name the anime.
So-
You see Full Metal Alchemist.
Mhm.
You seen Bleach.
Mhm.
You seen Dragon Ball Z.
Mhm.
You seen Naruto.
Mhm.
Have you seen Boruto?
No.
Okay, that's
I've
not
seen some
Naruto.
of it.
That's Naruto's son.
I know.
Okay, have you seen Death Note?
Yes.
Inuyasha?
Yes.
Yu Yu Hakusho?
Yes. Tenchimuyo.
I'm trying to think of some of them ones that most folk probably ain't never seen. But you done seen Yu Yu Hakusho and you done seen Inuyasha? You know, RC Full Metal Alchemist. Seven Deadly Sins?
Yeah.
It's crazy. I can't think of another one.
I might think of something for you. No Hero Academia. Like No Hero. Like I said, I gotta catch up on One Piece. I'm just
I didn't
so
really like
far
One Piece
behind
though.
on One Piece. What else? One Punch Man.
I don't think I want no more cookies. Cause it's
Dead Man Wonderland. You ever seen Dead Man Wonderland?
I don't think I want no more cookies. That last cookie right there just for some reason just came over me.
It's what you need.
Huh?
It's what you need. So
What?
check this out. You would be a Uchiha.
Yes!
I would be a part of the tribe of the Hidden Mist.
So
check this out.
I would love to be a Uchiha.
Check this out.
Shut
So,
up.
in Dragon Ball, right? each
So I would
level
be a Uchiha for the
represents-
fire?
No, your vision.
Oh, okay.
Each Super Saiyan level represents a different chakra. Like Kaioken represents the root chakra.
This is Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah, Super Saiyan 1 represents the sacral. Super Saiyan 2 represents the solar plexus. That's why they're both blonde and correlated, the orange and the yellow. So, Broly, the green, represents the heart chakra. That's why it's so powerful.
Glad you having cookies too.
So listen,
Speak out here.
because I'm about to make a very important point.
Okay.
Super Saiyan Blue represents the throat chakra, which is the truth. Like between me and Lazarus.
Who is
He's the
Super
green.
Saiyan Blue?
Vegeta and Super Saiyan and Goku, that's the new Super Saiyan Blue, the new level.
Really?
Yeah, the Super Saiyan Blue.
Have you seen Saiyan God?
Yeah, that's what blue is. The red, the blue. So, now check this out. So, like between me and Lazarus, the two witnesses, love and truth. That's one of the other meanings. Us that who operate, who are his elect, we're supposed to spread his message. We have to operate in love and truth. And I found out the two witnesses, we have partners. Like between us, Lazarus is the green, he's the love, I'm the blue, I'm the truth. So now the God of destruction, like Lord Beerus is the God of destruction. The reason that aura is purple is because to get caught in the sixth chakra, the Azure chakra, the third eye, is destruction. Because you don't discern illusion from truth, falsehood from reality.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why Ultra Instinct is silver, because once you surpass the Azure chakra and you reach the crown chakra, which is enlightenment, that allows you to connect to the universe and the spirit of Christ will dwell within you, because your pineal gland emits this light once it's open, but that light can only shine through your crown chakra. That's the representation of the halo on religious figures. Let thine eye be open, thy body be filled with light.
So have you studied all of this? Like you just YouTube, books?
My spirit has access to the Akashic records. So my spirit man goes and retrieves this universe from the universal library, and then it comes back to me, and I just confirm it.
When did you start getting into
After my awakening, after that vision I had.
Now, how old was you when that happened?
33.
Okay, this recently just happened.
33 vertebrae. 33rd birthday. Even numerical significance.
That is interesting.
So I'm fresh to all of this, bro. I mean, I've always had a connection, a stronger connection than normal when I was a child with God and things like that. I feel like spiritual things have always happened to me. But I didn't have this awakening until now. And that's what represents the age of Aquarius. When Jesus was talking to the multitude and he fed the multitude with a loaf of bread and two fish. He literally did that with the divination of multiplication. But the spiritual meaning, the age of Pisces, stood for the two fish, the age of deception. Any Pisces you meet is backwards. Every Pisces I don't met is backwards.
Mm-hmm.
The bread stood for his word. He was breaking bread with the people. So we're moving from the age of Pisces, the age of deception, how they got us worshiping on the wrong days, paying rituals and stuff like that, into the age of Aquarius. So on the zodiac, the Aquarius is pouring out the water. That stands for God pouring out his spirit upon man, upon earth. It's the way that I'm having, that certain people have. God's spirit is moving. Age of Aquarius, age of spirit. Makes sense. Because some of us have come here to sing a new song.
I should have ate one cookie, Patrick. Why did I eat two of them damn cookies, man? Why did I eat two of them cookies?
And that's what I have to tell people too, like especially I have to get a lot of Christians to understand. God didn't say he was finished working and changing stuff. Y'all, the problem is they try to put God in the box. You can't do that. Who said God was finished?
Man,